Hey, Patrick.
Hey, Michael J.
Wow, when it rains, it pours. New Rivals of Ixalan spoil. I mean, so many.
Well, I mean, when the spoiler season is a week and a half, a week, there's 1 week of spoilers, then, it comes like a deluge. Like when you take when you remove the bottom from the bucket, all the water drops out.
I feel soaked. Which is really convenient considering this is kind of a Merfolk pirate themed set. Being soaked is just as appropriate.
Man, so where do you want to start? One of the Merfolk that is there a Merfolk in particular that has your eye?
Oh well, I don't know. Twist my arm, Jadelight Ranger.
I had a feeling.
So Jadelight Ranger is 1 GG for a creature Merfolk Scout. It's a 2-1. It's a 2-1 for 1 GG. Nothing to write home about, unless you look at the text box. When Jadelight Ranger enters the battlefield, it explores, and then it explores again. So the range of this card is like either 2-1, draw 2 cards, to 3-2, draw 1 card, to just a 4-3 for 3.
No. You're forgetting all the scries, though.
Oh, the scries.
Right. So, like, for instance, if you play it and the top card is not a land, if you explicitly want a 4-3, you can have the second Explorer be guaranteed to give you a +1/+1 counter.
Oh, big game.
Now, most of the time, that's... But, like, in particular, that can come up, like, if you just want the top card. But even setting that aside... being able to explore and then explore again and have you be able to make it deterministic whether you hit. I mean, it's just nice to have the option, having that extra control. But also think about the amount that it lets you dig. Because regardless of whether you get there or not, you have the ability to see 2 more cards. So let's say you're looking for something. If your top card's a land, well, you get to draw a card. If your top card is not a land, it's either the thing you want or it's not. If it's the thing you want, you're happy. You got the thing you want. If it's not the thing you want, you can put it on the bottom and take another shot at the thing you want. And if that's not it, you can put it on the bottom and take another shot. So you're getting 2 extra scries, worst case scenario. Even if you don't get to draw the cards, you at least get to scry 2. Ish. You scry 1 and scry 1 again.
Well, it's not even that, right? Because you're still getting +1/+1 counters when you do these scries, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm talking about the 4-3.
Yeah.
Like a 4-3 with scry 1 and then scry 1 again.
So the thing is, this card is... I think that it would be fair to say this card is substantially better than Gnarled Mass, but also substantially
That's fair.
better
I think this would say.
than Borderland Ranger. I think...
Yeah, that's also fair to say.
I think it's better than both, and those are like my 2 favorite creatures. They just made a creature. They're like, hey, this one's better than the ones you already liked, Mike.
It's gonna be interesting to see if this ends up fitting what the Merfolk want to be doing. They do have a variety of +1/+1 counter synergies, and it's also possible that there's going to be, there might be a critical mass of good Explore cards that this can be part of some Explore package. But like, it's also, I think. This with Winding Constrictor, actually, if you go turn 2 Winding Constrictor and then turn 3 play Jadelight Ranger, I could be wrong, but I think it's a 6/5. No, because I think each Explorer counts as a discrete event.
Yeah.
And so I mean...
It's Explore and then Explore again. So I actually was thinking a similar thing. Obviously, Winding Constrictor is big game with Jadelight Ranger, but I think there might just... Aren't there 2 different black and green playable Explore creatures from the previous set? We might just have, most of the shell already there, right? Like, that's a huge level of redundancy. Throw in some, I don't know.
Well, there's this...
Ballista.
Dude, you got to watch out, though. If you have a Walking Ballista, you don't want to walk into the Poisoner that we previewed yesterday. The Walking Ballista is a 1/1. If the Poisoner comes down, flashes down, and blocks, you just got to be careful. The Poisoner can just eat the Walking Ballista.
Oh, okay.
However, you know what's pretty dope?
What?
Attacking with a walking ballista and then using the poisoner on it. It's not a pirate. Damn it. Anyway, there's ways to turn things into pirates though. If you give it the hook.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you know.
Let's be honest, we're not giving it the hook.
Give it the hook, man.
We're not giving it the hook. Jadelight Ranger, I'm a big believer in this guy. I think he seems awesome.
I think it's playable. I think it seems awesome. I'm going to enjoy playing it. I hope it's good. We'll see. We'll see. It's definitely decent. I want to see how it fits into the Merfolk deck, and I think that's really going to come down to the +1/+1 counter synergy stuff. I just wonder how many different ways to move around +1/+1 counters are there, and are people going to be able to play?
Oh, I just think it's just going to be size, right? Just like, good bodies, and especially, I mean, obviously Winding Constrictor just turns it into a completely different deck than if you don't have Winding Constrictor on the battlefield. But just like the combination of potential card advantage and potential size and all this, like you said, you can control the top of your library with pretty good regularity, given a high concentration of explorers. So your average card is going to be maybe a little bit less powerful than the average card somebody else might play on the same mana, but you have more cards, right? And you have more selections. So I think that might be a counterbalancing factor. And in addition, your stuff is fast, right? You're playing it for 1 or 2 and then getting an advantage built in versus, making an investment and then you're having to realize that investment later in the game. I don't know, just a thought. Seems like something I would definitely want to try.
Oh, yeah.
Not leaving the colors of black and green yet. I got another one for you, though.
Black and green? I thought we were talking about Merfolk. Okay, tell me about black and green since we were on the black and green.
Sure. Okay. So tell me what you think about Journey to Eternity. It's a 1 black and green for a legendary enchantment aura. Enchant creature you control. When an enchanted creature dies, return it to the battlefield under your control. Then return Journey to Eternity to the battlefield transformed under your control. And when it's transformed, it flips over, and it's a land called Atzal Cave of Eternity, a legendary land. It has 2 abilities. One is just a tap for 1 mana of any color to your mana pool, so it's a pretty powerful ability. And then its a secondary ability is 3 black-green tap, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield.
It's interesting. I suppose you got to really be in it for the Zombify engine aspect of it. It's quite the parlay, though, right? Like, you have to put it on your creature without your creature dying in response, and then when your creature dies, then you get this thing, and this thing then lets you pay 5 more to put a creature onto the battlefield.
So the Zombify effect it's like 6, right? But it's very card advantageous.
Well, 5 because it's this plus 5.
Yeah. So I was actually thinking about it from a much simpler dimension, which is that this is potentially just a redundant 3 casting cost rampant growth type effect, right? What if we're not talking about standard for a second?
What are you putting it on?
What if I put it on a Sakura Tribelder, right? If it's in Modern, I go, turn 2 Sakura Tribelder, turn 3 Journey to Eternity, sacrifice the Sakura Tribelder, right? I'm now going to go from 3 to 5 and get back my Sakura Tribelder. Well,
so you're actually going to go to 6. Because if you were at 3,
yep,
then in reality you'd be at. So let's say you play a turn, like if you just have a Sakura. Now the problem is you didn't sack your Sakura Tribelder in turn 2, but let's say you play your Sakura Tribelder in turn 2 and then you don't sack it. If you put Journey to Eternity on it on turn 3, you go up to 4 from the Elder, you go up to 5 from the Journey to Eternity.
Yep.
And you go up to 6 from using the Elder again, which is already enough to use the Journey to Eternity each turn. And it means that when you untap, you're already at Scape Shift to,
Yeah, so
that's interesting.
I was
kind of
actually
interesting.
thinking you could just loop Sakura Tribe Elders defensively. Like that, obviously that's not the most powerful thing that a deck like this would probably be wanting to do, but that's a pretty bad situation for some decks to be in.
In Modern?
There's situations, no?
I mean, there's a lot of things you could do with this. It's just the first thing that came to my mind wasn't looping Sakura Tribal Elder every turn.
I mean, I'm the kind of person that was very happy to put Splinter Twin on a Pilgrim's Eye. So, you know,
I love it, man. It's pure with you.
Yeah,
I love
it. Each his own, man. It could block any kind of Squadron Hawk, no matter which sword he had. It never got through. But besides which, I just thought it was like a pretty cool thing that you could do to accelerate, right? It's very similar to a 3 casting cost ramp spell. And then, like you said, it gets you to 6. That's already Primeval Titan range. And maybe it'll be a different archetype, because I think the ability to do this zombify action versus just maybe a Valakut type deck, which is how we've largely seen Primeval Titans utilized in recent years, might give rise to something different in Modern.
Man, is there any good creature in Standard that costs 2 that we can just sack? I mean, Walking Ballista is not that great to get back.
No.
But at least you could use this as a 3-cost.
Bad to get back.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not great.
It's not good at all.
It's not great. But there's got to be something in Standard that you can get back that's kind of saucy.
Yeah, all the things that I was thinking of were things like a Spike Feeder, things largely from larger formats.
But there's got to be a way to do it in a format that isn't so dramatically busted comparatively that, like, maybe there's got to be something that we would really actually play.
Well,
right? Like, is there?
What if you just had like
what about
a stockpile? Right, like you have a stockpile in play, right?
Right.
Or like you have, you sequence it such that you have a stockpile later. You could just put it on anything if you have a stockpile. A stockpile is a heavily played card.
Yeah. What about Marionette Master?
Oh, well. What about Marionette Master? Are you ramping into Marionette Master with this?
Because no, I was thinking you put this on the Marionette Master. So that you can get, you get to use the Fabricate ability twice. The first time you make +1/+1, the first time you make 1/1 servos, and then the second time you fabricate the Marionette Master to make it a 4/4. Like, you need to have a sack outlet for all those servos anyway.
I mean, it's certainly powerful to chain Marionette Masters. Like, I'm not going to argue with you there. That guy usually is he's a death knell by himself.
What about putting Journey to Eternity on your opponent's creature that you stole this turn with, like, Karizev's Expertise?
Oh, wait, so that's interesting. So if I steal your blocker, right? And then I guess I attack you with it or whatever, and I put Journey to Eternity onto your creature. What's the implication, right? If I have a sack outlet, or if
you have a sack outlet. If you have a sack outlet, right, like, you can steal the Scarab God and actually end up with it. Like, just have it on your side. You don't want it to die anymore. But, like, this thing can steal whatever, because it comes back into your control, not the owner's control.
So what if you just had Angrath the Flame Chained in play, right? Like, you were Jund colors.
Mm-hmm. Right, so Angrath is... Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
You predicted that I might like a different Angrath better than the one that we previewed a few weeks ago, and you were correct in this case. This Angrath at 5, I think, is substantially better of a card than the Angrath Minotaur Pirate we looked at a few weeks ago.
Yeah, so like, it's a
way better.
3 black-red with 4 starting loyalty. You can +1 it to make each opponent discard a card and lose 2 life. You can -3 it, so it'd still have 1 left. You can -3 it to gain control of target creature until end of turn, untap it, it gains haste until end of turn, which would already, it's already interesting getting to active trees and something, right?
Yeah, this card is already like, what's it, Irregulars?
Your Gerards are regulars, yeah.
Yeah, so...
But then you also, as a note on this -3, you sacrifice the creature at the beginning of the end step instead of giving it back if it has a converted mana cost of 3 or less.
Yeah, that's awesome. Just built right in to the card. It's just like damage and a creature removal spell.
Like, imagine stealing their Rogue Refiner and then attacking their Chandra with it. Like, that is like a tempo swing.
I think the tactical stuff is so interesting because, like, you know, sometimes they're just be like, I have to throw something in front of that. It's going to die anyway. You know, they're just like, this is the worst. You know, I'm going to lose another card.
But it also has an ultimate. So Angrath, -8. Each opponent loses life equal to the number of cards in his or her graveyard.
So that's a -8, right? So theoretically, you got to use the first ability four times to get to 8, right? And then on the 5th turn, you'd be able to do the -8. And so their implication there is they've taken 8 already, and they have 4 cards in their graveyard, right? So this is like 12 if they don't put any cards in their own graveyard.
Well, yeah, but stuff's going to go to their graveyard over time anyway as you're killing stuff, because in particular, the people who actually have creatures are the people you're really into the -3 for. But when you play against somebody like a control deck that doesn't have anything worth stealing, those are the type of people that have Opt and Censor, and they, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just got all that kind of stuff in their graveyard, and then you just dome them for 12 and they die.
I mean, that +1 ability that's a good ability, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, more than half of a Blightning? And you could do it every turn?
It's like Ob Nixilis, but instead of you getting a card, they lose a card, so similar there. But then instead of you losing a life, they lose 2. So, the plus is going to be great.
One of the things that's, I think, awesome about Angrath the Flamechained is that plus ability is each opponent, not target opponent, and loses life, not takes damage. So the kinds of things that white decks will often use to bedevil black and red players don't even apply here. You're not targeting them, and they're not taking damage.
Oh, so even if they have like a Leyline of Sanctity type deal, something that's making them...
Yeah, they could have a Leyline of Sanctity and a Rude Halo. Don't matter.
I like it. Yeah, I think this card's good. The biggest challenge, though, is that when you're in a world where Glorybringer and the Scarab God are illegal, they're setting a high bar.
Well, Angrath, especially on the play, Angrath can defend himself against an as yet uncast Glorybringer by just going to 5 loyalty, while generating card advantage, obviously.
Point.
And then separately, if the opponent's already got a Glorybringer, you can steal their Glorybringer, kill their next thing, exert the Glorybringer somehow anyway, to kill something on the battlefield to kind of ease up on the Glorybringer for a turn. You can
exciting.
They can take some damage, and you can just slow them down a little bit.
That's great. Also on the Planeswalker tip, Huatli Radiant Champion back with another Planeswalker. This one is 2 green-white, starting loyalty of 3. Has a +1 ability of put a loyalty counter on Huatli Radiant Champion for each creature you control. So that's in addition to the one that it gets just for using it.
Yep.
And what are we doing with all these loyalty counters? Well, to begin with, it has a -1. Target creature gets +X until end of turn, where X is equal to the number of creatures you control. And then -8, you get an emblem with whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card.
So this Huatli does basically nothing on its own, right? It's got to have...
Well, it gets you an emblem.
Emblem is not very powerful on its own, right? So this is like just a support card, but I think it's pretty powerful. like just as an example, let's say this is obviously not standard doable, but it's doable and easily describable. You could play like a first turn Noble Hierarch, second turn anything from like a Rith's Charm to Spectral Procession that would produce 3 counters on the second turn. And then if you played Huatli on the third turn, you'd already have 4 creatures in play, which is the 3 token creatures that you generated plus the Noble Hierarch, and that would give you +4 loyalty, which to 7, and then the +1 itself put you straight to 8 if you somehow had 4 creatures in play already, and you got some options at that point at 8 loyalty. I think it ramps up super fast if you have creatures. I think that's the upshot on this card.
Yeah, I think you don't even necessarily. It's not necessarily actually a perfect fit with accelerator stuff anyway, just because of how much it scales based on the total quantity of material you have. So if you're just playing some kind of a tokens deck, like one of these stockpile decks or whatever, like these Abzan stockpile decks with Vraska, if you play Huatli on turn 4, after, you could play, if you on turn 2 make 2 tokens, and on turn 3 make 2 tokens, well, you're already at that magic number 4 that you were describing, so that you instantly go to 8, so that you're threatening to ultimate Huatli immediately. And if Huatli ultimates, remember, this ability, it procs off of a creature entering the battlefield under your control, not just when you cast one. It's not just like Glimpse of Nature. It's like Beckon Calls. So you can actually Huatli and then have every single token you make draw you a card from now on.
Yeah, it's super easy to trigger this in a tokens deck. Like if you've got Legion's Landing, for example, or Stockpile, like you're going to be drowning in card advantage.
And I think this is a really interesting Planeswalker because of how much it would appear to be designing a Planeswalker that is so heavily about its ultimate. Like this card is basically, its first ability is just getting loyalty for the purposes of triggering the ultimate. And its ultimate is almost all the card. It's nice tactically to have the advantage of being able to +X, but honestly, that's worth a lot less than 4.
You could have multiple of this emblem, right? Like if you just blow Huatli at -8 on its second turn, if you had 4 creatures the previous turn, you can just play another Huatli, right? And then you can get multiple emblems, and those will all give you card drawing triggers, right?
It's the most magical time of the year.
It is, actually.
Yes, that is right.
Still about that time. I think this card. I think this card's real interesting. It's just different because rather than protecting itself, it implies being played in a context where you would be able to defend yourself.
Well, so what do you think about Huatli with Elendra the Dusk Rose? Elendra the Dusk Rose is 2 white-black for a 1/1 legendary creature vampire knight. So 1/1 for 4. It's a little behind
4.
at the moment. But it also has lifelink. So it's a 1/1 lifelink for 4, legend. Whenever another creature dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Elendra the Dusk Rose. So already we've got like those creatures from Shards of Alara, like Algigariel, where it's you're doing the whole Cabal Ghoul thing. But wait, there's more. When Elendra dies, create X 1/1 lifelink vampires, where X is Elendra's power. So even with nothing else at all, she's a 1/1 lifelink that dies into a 1/1 lifelink. So you've got a cat. You got a Sacred Cat to start. Right. And you don't have to pay for the second one. It's already in play.
No, it's like you only double paid for a Sacred Cat.
However, if you get even a single +1/+1 counter on the Elendra, now you're up to a 2/2 lifelink that gives you 2 1/1 lifelinks, all of which are on tribe. Like for your vampire token deck. But also, if you Elendra and you actually get to do it for a little while, you can end up in a real powerful state, right? Like where your Elendra is turning into a Baneslayer that even if they kill, makes several more Baneslayers.
Yeah, I'm not real excited by Alendra. I really like
No?
the Alendra plus Huatli combo other than it has Alendra.
Dude, what about Alendra with Legion Lieutenant, which is the white-black 2/2 vampire. The other vampires you control get +1/+1.
I like Legion Lieutenant. That guy seems good.
Dude, Legion Lieutenant with Alendra the Dusk Rose?
So Alendra would start off as a 2/2, right?
Right, but if you play any creatures after, she quickly balloons out of control. But all of the 1/1s that you make when she dies are actually going to be 2/2s because of the Legion Lieutenant.
Yep. Yeah, I still don't like Alendra. She's so far behind to begin with. Like, if your opponents have removal, I don't like it.
Dude, okay. So what about the one good vampire lord from Ixalan, right? Like I guess sort of two, but I mean like so what if you have Legion's Landing helping power? I'm sorry, if you have Mavrin,
Yeah.
and you're getting, I mean, that's like.
Well, I mean, Mavrin into Alendra is, I guess you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like, if your curve is like Legion's Landing, Legion Lieutenant, Mavrin, Alenda, can't. I mean, it really is that time of year. If that's your curve.
Remember, Alendra gets powered up by all the creatures, not just tokens. I mean, sorry, not just non-tokens like Mavrin. So Alendra can actually get quite busty.
No, it's
so
when they die, though, right? Like, not just playing them. That doesn't make it big.
No, I know, but like, what you play Alendra and then you attack. Like, remember, Mavrin needs you to actually be attacking. So if you
Legion's Landing needs you to be attacking too.
Right. So like, you kind of have to do all this stuff. And you've got vampires that are expendable. All of Mavrin's tokens still make Alendra grow. And Legion Conquistador random donks, if they die, they make the Alendra grow.
I do like that. I do like the Legion Conquistador being productive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, I don't know.
Still, I'm not a buyer on Alenda. I can't wrap my head around this one. Okay. I could be wrong. Not super exciting to me. Not like my Journey to Eternity. That one I thought was real exciting.
So both Alendra and Huatli have some token applications, even if you don't want to use them specifically, or you just want to use one or the other. Token decks in general have a real interesting relationship with the favor of the city. Yeah. You know, the blessing of the city. You're just getting all kinds of permanents, right? Because you need to have 10 or more permanents to ascend. And all these cards that we're talking about right now are implying that you're just spreading material all over the battlefield. Right. And some of the payoffs for having the blessing of the city seem relevant. Right? Like where is the dude, I have no idea what the names of the new ones are yet, but so for instance, Glorious Destiny is 2 and a white. As it enters the battlefield, you choose a creature type. In this case, vampire. Creatures you control of the chosen type get +1/+1. They have vigilance as long as you have the city's blessing. So being able to Glorious Destiny in a vampire tokens deck anyway, and have it power up all the little 1/1 vampire tokens, that's already exciting.
Yeah, so it's like a Glorious Anthem already to start.
It's already an easier to cast Glorious Anthem for your vampire deck. But then what's more, when you get up to 10 permanents, you now can actually have all of the, all your guys have vigilance as well. Which, that can end up mattering, particularly with all these life-linking vampires.
I mean, vigilance is not my favorite creature ability, but if it's free on lifelink creatures, I'll take it. Like that's pretty good to have for free.
What What do you think about Bishop of Binding on the vampire tip? This is 3 and a white for a 1/1. When Bishop of Binding enters the battlefield, exile target creature an opponent controls until Bishop of Binding leaves the battlefield. So it's a hostage taker, but it's only a 1/1 instead of a 3/3. But instead of having the option to play the card from exile or hit artifacts, when Bishop of Binding attacks, target vampire gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the power of the exiled card. And remember, it can target itself.
Yeah. I think this card could be pretty good, right? There's a decent precedent for 3 casting cost white creatures that have this ability from various sets, right? We have like the Fairgrounds Warden is the most recent version, but there's all kinds that are played, even in Modern. This is on Tribe. It's helpful with other vampires, and I think that the combat ability is pretty strong, right? Like you could take out, I don't know, some huge guy. I don't know, you could take out the Scarab God, right? And then, that's actually a good way to deal with the Scarab God that doesn't immediately return it from, the way like a regular removal spell would. And then you're going to be attacking with 6/6, right?
Yep.
I mean, granted, the Bishop Binding's pretty
fragile.
Pretty fragile on defense, but I think there's some tempo to be had there.
Well, it's also vulnerable to removal, right? But it might give you an increased reason to potentially explore. What was the vampire trick in Ixalan? You know what I'm talking about? It's Vampire Zeal. I guess it doesn't make it indestructible. It just gives it +2/+2. It's not going to be enough. But yeah, I guess it's actually Sheltering Light was the indestructible trick. Well, not a vampire call out, but could still be sweet, actually.
Like, I don't think this card is probably going to be good, but I think that it's real interesting about how some of the cards in this set are designed to push the Ascend mechanic. Like, just like Aquatic Incursion, right? This card is 3 and a U for an enchantment. When Aquatic Incursion enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 blue merfolk creature tokens with hexproof. And it has the additional ability 3 and a U. Target merfolk can't be blocked this turn. It's just like it makes two token creatures, right? Which is a thing that you might want to do, not necessarily for 4 mana, but it's a thing you might want to do. But it actually gives you another permanent, right? Like it's an enchantment as well as 2, so it's like 3 permanents for Ascend. In kind of a card advantageous package, just not one that's really probably priced to move in Constructed.
Actually, there's a few more Ascend cards. So Vampires, some interesting interactions with Ascend, partly because of all their token making, but Sky Marcher Aspirant is white for a 2/1 Vampire Soldier, and then it has flying as long as you have the City's Blessing. So it has Ascend, and then it has flying as long as you have the City's Blessing.
This card is just awesome, right? This is a fantastic card.
I mean, it's a Savannah Lion.
Well, it's not just first of all, it's just better than a Savannah Lion, right? Because a Savannah Lion is just a 2/1 cat for white. This is a 2/1 Vampire Soldier. So
Vampire is good. Vampire is a really good type.
Soldier can be good too, but I mean, just talking about the tribes that were in
Kithion was a soldier.
Yeah, he was. Also for white. But like this is like you said, a Savannah Lion. But it's a Savannah Lion that's going to trigger Maverin, right? It's ahead of Maverin. So that I think is pretty good. And then separately, it's well within the range of the vampire decks we've been talking about to be able to generate 10. In fact, you could play one after you've got the City's Blessing, right? You get the City's Blessing, and then you lose a bunch of permanents somehow. You get swept or something. Like, your late game could just be to play a Sky Marcher or Aspirant, and it's a 2/1 flying for white, not just a 2/1. Even if he has no friends. And that's a very different card than just a 2/1, right? You might be able to breach the opponent's defenses, even if you just don't have 10 permanents anymore. But you had 10 permanents, so I think that is a great card, and I think it's going to be awesome in mono white and probably black white vampires.
Yeah, I mean the amount of sketchy white creatures that were being played in the mono white vampires deck that was already showing up.
Yeah.
I got a feeling we can make room for Sky Marcher Aspirant. What do you think about Famished Paladin as another vampire? It's 1 and a white for a 3/3 vampire knight. It doesn't untap during your untap step, and whenever you gain life, you untap it.
So Famished Paladin is like the spectral bears of the white vampire set now, right? So he's like a 3/3 for 2, which if you're just going to leave him on defense isn't the worst thing. Like remember maybe about 2 years ago, the green-white tokens deck, which was one of the top decks in Standard at the time, would often just side in those 3/3, was it Lamphold Pacifists, which were not attacking at all until later in the game, just to slow down aggressive decks. You could bring this guy in and do that, but he's got some extra stuff going on, right? Like, you can attack with him. He's attacking for 3, and then during combat, you could cycle a Renewed Faith for sake of argument.
Well, what about just all your vampires that have lifelink? When any of them do damage, this guy untaps, so he has virtual vigilance.
Yeah, I think that's obviously going to be part of it. I was just thinking, like, if you have Renewed Faith, you can untap him at instant speed. To potentially get blocks in. But I think this card is... I'm not sure that he's going to be good enough, but he looks like he could be good enough. I'm not sure what the whole distribution of actual cardboard vampire knights or vampire soldiers.
Well, so there's other things you could do too, like Glorious Destiny that we mentioned earlier. When it gives destiny to you for having the city's blessing, well, this guy loves having vigilance.
Oh yeah, sure.
And I just think that's kind of that's not nothing. Vigilance and just untapping him in general is really interesting. Because there's ways, I think, like, we got to look to see if there's some kind of ways to abuse this, right? Because, like, for instance, if you've got, there was the card in Innistrad block where you could tap your creatures for a mana, to untap one of your, or to get a mana of any color. What's it? 1 and a green?
Oh,
And so, if we have ways to abuse tapping our creatures for profit, the ability for this to untap over and over and over again, that's kind of something to take a look at. That's something, like, there could be a combo kill deck, some kind of a potential way to combo this.
I mean, you could just crew two vehicles too, right? Like, couldn't you say, like, tap this to crew a Heart of Cure and then gain some life on tap it and then crew another vehicle, or attack itself, right?
Yeah. Yep. But, like, aren't there some tap effects in this set? Like, oh, by the way, actually, speaking of Ascend stuff, before I forget again, Tendershoot Dryad is 4 and a green for a 2/2 Ascend. At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 green Saproling, and Saprolings you control get +2/+2 as long as you have the city's blessing. If there end up being other Saproling token-making stuff, it's kind of, like, it feeds into itself, but maybe there's some kind of a way to capitalize on Ascend there.
Oh, yeah, because it's each upkeep, right? So if you played Tendershoot Dryad on turn 5, for sake of argument, and then passed, then you got to your opponent's upkeep and you got the trigger and you already had the city's blessing, you're already at 5 power and toughness for 5 mana, right? Because the Sapling will be 3/3 instead of 1/1.
Yep. So, I don't know, man. I'm going to be interested to see what all ways there are to tap your creatures for benefit besides just crewing vehicles. I mean, crewing vehicles is sweet too, but like for instance, let's say no, see, it doesn't work with. It's a tough way to do it with all your non-artifact cards have improvise. But you see what I'm saying? Like, there's so much weird combo-y, untap, tap stuff in Kaladesh and Aether Revolt that I want to make sure that there isn't some sort of a sick combo with these,
Yeah, I hear you. Because he's like very Birchlore Ranger, right? That's the...
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's not like that deck took 6 of the 8 spots in its Pro Tour or anything, top 8, including winning first place. But there's like wild, crazy, awesome. Like I feel like this set is full of all kinds of stuff that's just like, hey, this is exactly what I wanted, but I just didn't say it that way. You know, like Kumena's Awakening, right? Like, is this exactly the card you always wanted at some point in your life?
Well, go ahead, sell me on it.
Kumena's Awakening is 2 UU for an enchantment with Ascend. At the beginning of your upkeep, each player draws a card. If you have the City's Blessing, instead only you draw a card, right? Like, we've always been in search for the personal Howling Mine. That's what I'm thinking. This is the personal Howling Mine if you've got Ascend. You've got the City's Blessing.
Yeah, I don't know, man. A 4 casting cost Howling Mine is not that exciting. But it's only a 4 cost personal Howling Mine when you already have 10 permanents. What is this deck that just wants to play a Howling Mine as its 11th? It's like, oh my god, I need to play a personal Howling Mine as my 11th permanent.
I agree. It is awesome.
I thought we were going to go talk about, if we're going to talk about blue card drawers, dude, Secrets of the Golden City.
Oh.
1 blue, draw 2. But if you have the City's Blessing, draw 3 instead.
So, I mean, you know, Council of the Soratami / Divination, already good enough for Standard. I qualified with it multiple times, right? This card is just miles better than Council of the Soratami or Divination in a deck that's going to go long, right? Like, all of us have played blue control decks that have 14 lands in play, right? And you're just like, all right, I'm drawing 3 instead of 2 this time. That's backbreaking. You just play 4. Yeah, this card's awesome.
Is it?
Yes.
Dude, it's so hard. Chart a Course, though. This card isn't even as good as Chart a Course.
I think that if you're playing a blue control deck, you'd rather have this than Chart a Course.
You're going to play this in a blue control deck while Torrential Gear Hulk is legal.
Oh, well, I guess we have like a lot of hieroglyphic illuminations and stuff that I could be playing, huh?
Oh, with 0 opportunity cost whatsoever? Yes.
Yeah, I think hieroglyphic illumination is like the best one. So, and I mean,
I hate that card.
You hate that card, really?
Yes.
Why do you hate it? I think it's of the options in Standard. I think it's the best one.
I think it's the most powerful. Or at least it's the most efficient.
Yeah.
I hate it in terms of it existing. It is devoid of any soul whatsoever. It's literally just mindless resource manipulation, optimization equations.
That's exactly what I love.
Like, great.
Oh, I need to put a card in my graveyard for a Search for Azcanta. It's most of an opt. Oh, I'd like some card advantage. It's most of a Glimmer of Genius. I love that card. Yeah, I think that with Glimmer of Genius and Hieroglyphic Illumination and Search for Azcanta and Treasure Map in Standard, maybe I would not play Secrets of the Golden City. But I still think it might, I think it might be awesome still. Isn't there going to be a time when Secrets of the Golden City is legal and some of those other cards aren't legal?
Some of those other cards, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see. I think this one I'm going to put a bookmark on him.
Okay, what about, here's a blue card for you. And this one's got people shaking in their boots in powered formats. Induced Amnesia, which is 2 and a blue for an enchantment. When Induced Amnesia enters the battlefield, target player exiles all cards from his or her hand face down, then draws that many cards. And when Induced Amnesia is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, return the exiled cards to their owner's hand.
Yeah, like, you wouldn't just target yourself with this, would you? And bounce the Induced Amnesia?
After you've used some of those cards?
Or not, right? Like, I guess you would have to. No, you don't discard the cards that the Induced Amnesia gave you, right? You just add the other cards to your hand.
Yes.
So you could say, play Induced Amnesia, put 7 down. I'm just making this up at 7, and we're in Magical Christmas Land, so I have tons of mana, right? So I draw 7, I bounce it, so I have 6. I have 12 or whatever, and I cast it and do Amnesia again. Now that I'm going to go to 24, like that seems really, really. I mean, assuming you have the mana to do all this, it seems really, really powerful. I assume there's some kind of, I don't know, like a Chain of Vapor or something that would be good buddies with this in some formats.
Yeah, because I mean, if you bounce this, like the fact that this is just like a windfall waiting to happen, and you can start stacking up, right? Because like when you bounce this and then get all those cards back, when you play, like you bounce it, get all the cards back, and then you play it again, and now you're exiling and drawing twice as many.
Yeah, I think
now, but there's another way. If you just do it to your opponent, now they have to just play with a random hand. I don't know, man. It could come up, particularly if you get Taxi and Probe and you don't like what you see.
Yeah, I think that's possible. Like if you can't pick their hand, it's just like, all right, I guess I'm just gonna, we're gonna go to the back end of Commit to Memory right now. It's happened.
Well, but no. But the thing is that this is worded the weird way so that you can do the Oblivion Ring tricks. If you have Induced Amnesia, as long as you can sack or destroy or bounce the Induced Amnesia in response to the trigger, the hand that's gone is gone forever.
Ah.
But they have to just play with the new hand that you gave them.
Yeah, that seems like a lot of work for a random effect.
Dude, what about if you can't get the stuff back?
I'm in for Induced Amnesia. I'm just saying I'm in for targeting myself.
Dude, what about Induced Amnesia with, like, the Eldrazi guys that, like, feed off of exiled cards? Yeah?
Still no.
Okay, well, what about Induced Amnesia on yourself?
Yes, in. There are some crazy red cards. Like, crazy red cards.
Hold on a second. Before we move off this Induced Amnesia, what about with Notion Thief and Spirit of the Labyrinth?
Oh, well.
In Modern.
Wow. That seems like a lot of work, but then a lot of misery for your opponent. So I'm in for that.
If you just have Spirit of the Labyrinth on turn 2, Induced Amnesia mind twists them like crazy.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Right? So
yeah?
Spirit of the Labyrinth says that you can't draw more than one card per turn, right? So when you play Induced Amnesia, they have like 5 cards and they exile 5 and they draw 1. Is that what will happen?
Right.
Yeah, I'm in for it. It's good. That's very good. I have a lot of fringe cards in my deck now. Like Spirit of the Labyrinth, some way to bounce this for when I target myself, some kind of echoing truth. Yeah, but I don't know, maybe we can get there. It's certainly a cool combo. What
about in Legacy? I mean, it's 4 colors, but in Legacy with... actually, it's only 3. What about using this in Legacy with Leovold, Emissary of Trest?
Oh, Leovold. He's a commander, right?
Yep. Or he's a legend. He's in a commander product.
Yeah, I think that's fancy. I'm not sure.
Yeah? Okay. Well, what about these red cards?
All right. I think that there's some super crazy ones. I want to start with a card that they very clearly designed in order to evoke the form, let's say, of another iconic card. I would actually say Form of the Dragon is my favorite card from a flavor design standpoint. And so they're kind of evoking that card with this new card, Form of the Dinosaur, but it ends up being very different. So Form of the Dinosaur is 4 RR for an enchantment. When Form of the Dinosaur enters the battlefield, your life total becomes 15. At the beginning of your upkeep, Form of the Dinosaur deals 15 damage to target creature an opponent controls, and that creature deals damage equal to its power to you. this card it's real. I think it's real tactically interesting, right? Like, if you have less than 15 life, you cast it, and it's just a life gain card to begin with. But then it's also this kind of long-term creature removal card. Besides which, you can, do a lot of the stuff that the Induce Amnesia we were talking about. Like, you can just bounce it and recast it if you're red-blue, for example.
That's interesting.
And you'd always be able to put yourself back to 15. Like, Form of the Dragon had so many other conditions on it. This is like only 2 things going for it, and they're both, I think, at least potentially pretty good. Like, the 15 life, it depends how games go. But, if you're...
I think that part's pretty good.
Yeah, like, you're often going to be lower than 15 at the point that you can cast this. And then the other thing is just, like, you just kill stuff. You kill a lot of stuff.
15? Yeah, I mean, 15's a lot to kill a lot of things. That's going to do a healthy chunk.
Yeah, so, you could be killing big guys. It obviously doesn't have the moat effect that Form of the Dragon had, or the life reset, but I think that, I don't know, this card seems really interesting to me. I don't know if it's great. It's certainly interesting,
though. Another merfolk I wanted to, we didn't get to earlier, 1GG, Swift Warden, 1GG for a 3/3 flash. When it enters the battlefield, target merfolk you control gains hexproof until end of turn.
Wait, so it's a 3/3 for 3.
Right.
Which at GG1 that's exactly what I'm looking for in life. But it also has flash, which is makes it slightly too good for me. But then also has this ability to save one of your merfolk from removal. So I don't know. This is it's kind of like a dismiss, right? It's like card advantageous, and
it's kind of like a dismiss, I guess.
Yeah, and it's kind of card advantageous, and you get a body. It's a pretty good body actually for the exchange. This is similar to, wasn't there an Eldrazi that was UG1?
Yeah, it was a 2/4.
Yeah, no, it's on Tribe. I think I'm not super excited, but I could see wanting it sometimes.
Okay, what about Merfolk Mistbinder, which is the blue-green for a 2/2. Other Merfolk you control get +1/+1.
It looks to me like this is going to be a cycle, right? Because there's the black.
No, I think there's just 2, because those are the only 2 colors that only have 2 colors of tribes.
Oh, okay.
Dinosaurs were in 3, and pirates are in 3.
I like this card a lot. If there's, I don't know, do you think this would displace any of the existing 2 casting cost lords in Merfolk in Modern?
I think it would have to compare to Coral Helm Commander is probably the one that it would be replacing.
Right, it's generally worse than Lord of Atlantis, right?
Yeah,
because with the synergy with Spreading Seas. But I don't know, is it better than Regery? Right, Regery's
yeah, but I think a lot of the time they don't even play the Regery anymore. Now that they have some, Ixalan gave them enough stuff. Once you throw a Merfolk Mistbinder in here too, I think the Regery is done for. There are just so many generic Merfolk lords. But now in Standard, you can actually play... it looks like there might... Because it was Standard, there were a couple good ones, but man, was it a few short, right? For the most part. But now, between Kumana's Speaker and the 2-drop, whatever he was, there's this guy, the Silvergill Adept.
Well, Silvergill Adept is going to be a big game.
Yeah, I mean, that one's just, priced to move again. Yeah, I don't know. This, there could be enough Merfolk here. You're 2/1, maybe, if people are into that. That draws 2 cards.
Kumena, Tyrant or Varazka. Is that a good payoff for Merfolk?
So this is 1 blue-green for a 2/4, which is already a decent set of stats. 2/4 Merfolk Shaman. You can tap another untapped Merfolk you control to make Kumana unblockable this turn, and you can tap 3 untapped Merfolk you control to draw a card.
It sort of like that, including Kumana.
Keeper, right? And then you can tap 5 untapped Merfolk to put a +1/+1 counter on each Merfolk you control. I don't this is kind of cool. I have to play with it to see, but it's got enough of the Crypt Breaker thing going on. It's a legend that doesn't supernaturally stack. It's kind of a nice thing to have a merfolk that's got a little bit of natural body.
Yeah,
I would take a test drive.
I think it's pretty Endbringery. Like it's a kind of card that could be really powerful, but you have to give it time to percolate. But it's cheap enough that I'd give it a chance. It's surrounded by good buddies, right? Like Merfolk Mistbinder and Silvergill Adept. I think could make for a structure where you can at least minimally find enough Merfolk that you'd want to play to trigger some of these abilities. And then if you give it time and it just keeps going, like it's gonna build up an overwhelming amount of material.
Well, here's a different Merfolk for you. World Shaper, 3 and a green, and this is a non-traditional Merfolk. 3 and a green for a 3/3 Merfolk Shaman. When it attacks, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyards. It's got a little bit of that self-mill type of thing going on. And when it dies, put all land cards from your graveyard onto the battlefield tapped. Which don't have to just be discarded from it. If you flip your deck a bunch or whatever you're doing, you can get an enormous amount of land from this thing.
Yeah, I think if you just have a sack outlet in play, for example, this is just a splendid reclamation, right? Like, you just cast World Shaper for 4 and then sacrifice it, and then you just get back all those lands. I think that's one possible implementation of this card. I think that, like, just reasonably playing it in combat, like, I don't know about just casting a 3/3 for 4 and then attacking with it a bunch of times to randomly put top cards in my library. That's just not a thing that I think I'm going to do. So if I'm gonna be playing this card, he's gonna be on the busted mode, not on the. He's probably never gonna attack. What do you think?
I don't know. I think he'll attack sometimes. I mean, like, is it possible there's a modern deck with 4 World Shapers and 4 Splendid Reclamations?
I'm skeptical that there's any such modern deck.
So this guy's not at the top of your list for Merfolk you're going to be jamming?
No. He's got the wrong size stats and the wrong size casting cost for me.
All right, what about Seafloor Oracle, which is 2/2 for a 2/3 Merfolk Wizard? Whenever a Merfolk you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. And this is for all of them.
Oh, wow. This is like multi-Ophidian Merfolk.
All of your Merfolk are Ophidians from here on out. They're not even Ophidians, they're Scroll Thieves.
It's like Coastal Piracy, right? Like,
yes.
Coastal Piracy Merfolk.
Yep.
I think I've convinced myself now that I've called him Coastal Piracy Merfolk. Like, if you've got any evasion at all, like this, you just like slam this guy on turn 4 and attack with everything.
I think this card is excellent.
Like,
I think this card is excellent.
Do you think this is a 4 of main deck excellent or a surgical tool?
Possibly.
Excellent?
My starting point would be 4 main deck.
He's like very Bident of Thassa, right? Very, very Bident.
Well, yeah, but it also it still attacks, and it's actually on Tribe, and it untaps your Silvergill. It does all this stuff, and I don't know, like, this card looks incredible to me. Now, it's going to end up depending on what the rest of the format's like if the Merfolk have a spot, but, like, okay, so, like, for instance, one of the big Merfolk payoffs is the River Sneak. 1 and a blue for a 1/1 that can't be blocked. And whenever another Merfolk enters the battlefield under your control, River Sneak gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So you just have this 1/1 unblockable creature already that you're often making a 2/2 or a 3/3 unblockable. But if you can just drop this card on turn 4 or 5 or whatever, and then and get 2 or 3 cards out of it in one swing, even if your opponent kills it, you're so far ahead.
Yeah, you've already got reload set up, right? You just drew your reload.
It makes it easier to play a bunch of tempo-oriented cards because you have such a powerful way to make up all the card disadvantage. You know, like, if you're playing the... Oh, go ahead.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, we previously talked about Admiral's Order potentially in the context of pirates, but, like, Seafloor Oracle is a blue card that is encouraging attacking, right? Admiral's Order is a blue card that encourages attacking. Maybe there's a great crossover there. right? Like, I think like Seafloor Oracle's probably in opposition to Settle the Wreckage, for example. I think like Admiral's Order could be really effective. Make those guys buddies.
There's one of the Merfolk payoffs from original Ixalan is really interesting with this. Deep Root Waters, which is the 2 and a blue enchantment. Whenever you cast a Merfolk spell, create a 1/1 blue Merfolk creature token with hexproof. And so by getting all these 1/1 tokens with hexproof, they turn into very relevant threats when they're all scroll thieves, right? Hexproof scroll thieves. But what's more, if you draw a bunch of cards, that's so many more Merfolk spells for you to get more tokens with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this one is very promising.
I think it looks good. I just wonder what kind of good it is, right? I guess I could totally see this as being like
the best kind of good.
Well, like
accurately good.
Slam you out of the sideboard good versus this is.
That's just like, dude. That's just how you feel. That doesn't matter.
All right.
I'm just kidding. Your feelings are valid. Your feelings matter.
So let's close it out talking about how we feel about Elder Dinosaurs. Now, we've previously talked about some pretty baller Elder Dinosaurs. For example, Tetsamok Primal Death. We agreed was like, wow, that's a, we don't want to live in a world where that guy's not very good. But there's been some other Elder Dinosaurs that have been showcased this week. Just wanted to get your take, for example, on Zetalpa Primal Dawn, the white Elder Dinosaur. It's 6 white for a legendary creature, 4/8 with flying, double strike, vigilance, trample, and indestructible, but not hexproof.
I don't know, man. It would depend on how much mana cheating there is. This doesn't look. Well, I mean, it's a big, powerful thing. So if there's ways to cheat it into play, But like, what makes this one particularly different than any of the other ones?
I don't know. I'm not excited by this card at all. However, it's not the only Elder Dinosaur that was showcased this week. How about this one? Are you interested in Itali Primal Storm, 4/RR, for a 6/6 legendary creature? Whenever Itali Primal Storm attacks, exile the top card of each player's library. Then you may cast any number of non-land cards exiled this way without paying their mana costs. How about this guy?
Not particularly.
You don't like this one?
I don't know. I guess. Maybe. It could be sweet. I don't know, man. Like, I would love if this guy was good.
Yeah.
God, I would love if this guy was good. I hope he is. I really do. When they just throw so liberally around Tetsamok Primal Death, and that card that we shall not name because it is not deserving of any attention, but the let's put it this way, a streamlined Necrotol. But like when they're making cards like that, those kind of cards make it so that finally haste creatures, cantrip creatures, and indestructible creatures are the good ones.
Yeah.
So like, it would be great. I hope this guy's good. I hope this guy is good.
But you think he's just walking the plank, getting taken hostage? Something's going to happen to him other than him attacking and revealing to...
I don't think he's going to call... Right? Oh, look, I revealed a Goblin Rigger and a Daring Buccaneer. Oh, good. Oh, good. Like, I guess you're not going to reveal both of those because you only do one from your deck and one from their deck. But, like, I don't know, man. I just think that this format has a lot of one-drops that are all, like, there's super fast, aggressive threats early. There's all these busted planeswalkers and gods. And then there's all these, like, there's like a million haste creatures. I hope this guy's good, man.
Yeah, I'm just trying to imagine something that I might want to ramp into. Right? Standard's got some cool ramp cards. There's just nothing to ramp into. I think, like, the white Elder Dinosaur, for example, my bar is,
dude,
like, would I ever want to cast something for 8? right?
No, dude, there is something to ramp into. It's so good of a thing. Let's say you're playing a red, green, blue deck, and you just ramp into the Scarab God on the splash. You've got like Servant of the Conduit,
Yeah.
and you just ramp right into the Scarab God. Yeah?
Yeah, I think these Elder Dinosaurs might not be that exciting. I think you're right.
So we'll see. I'm not saying they're not exciting. I'm just saying that, like, I hope this format is more than just mindless efficiency, resource manipulation, and exploiting stuff like Chandra and the Scarab God.
Well, at least we've got Jadelight Ranger and the new Angrath and potentially Journey to Eternity for Super.
Dude, Jadelight Ranger is the problem.
Yeah, I know.
It's just another Rogue Refiner.
He's Mole Drifter and Baneslayer Angel, right? Like, that's the problem.
Dude, he's a Rogue Refiner. He even ends up as a 3/2 draw card.
But Patrick, on the downside, he doesn't force you to play a second color or draw on the energy mechanic.
All right, man.
See? All right. But still, there's certainly some stuff that's going to be fun to play and that's powerful to play that we've seen so far.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I particularly love, like, for instance, the interaction between the Poisoner, the pirate from our preview episode yesterday.
Yes.
That guy's interaction with all the first striking and trampling pirates, love it. And the tactics that can emerge from it, super dope. And then some of these vampires, if they don't turn out too strong, like I think there's some really cool synergies here. I'm excited to see where some of this stuff goes, and they definitely unveiled a bunch of dope stuff at once, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I think that the vampires, a lot of them, warm my heart, which is unfortunate because then they'll probably want to, drain my blood, but still. All right. So that was a little bit more Rivals of Ixalan from us. We're Top Level Podcast. I'm Michael J. Flores.
I'm Patrick Chapin.
And you can find us all over the place on the internet. TopLevelPodcast.com. You can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes or on YouTube. We're Top Level Podcast there and there. We're Top Level Podcast on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Patreon. So you want to support us on Patreon? We would love that. For example, Carl Varga. Thank you for supporting us, Carl.
Yeah, shout out, man.
So thanks for supporting us, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back next week.
Yeah, see you guys next week as we conclude this spoiler season.
All right, it's just going to be pre-release. Right?
All right, see you then.
Bye-bye.
Life didn't work so great. Tried to play dredge, it's a jailer hate. Ghostly prison waiting for my untapped phase. Your core trapped in amber stasis state. Lost a lot of friends, got left